Welcome back, guys. I'm Hunter, and in this episode, we're going to talk about Masteries and go over the most important details of this awesome mechanic. No doubt quite a few of you played classical RPGs or MMORPGs. Those of you that did should be familiar with the concept of a talent tree. But just to cover all bases, it's a branching out list of special abilities, masteries in our case, that can be unlocked progressively. You can unlock the basic masteries first, then slowly make your way to the most powerful ones. Let's take a closer look and see how all of it works. In Raid, we have 3 mastery trees: offense, defense, support. Like the name suggests, they are focused on a specific part of the champion's performance. Offense mainly deals with increased damage that your champions dish out, or giving them benefits that are centered around it. For example, the first 2 masteries you get to choose from either give a small boost to their attack or critical rate stats. But it gets more interesting, like the Whirlwind of Death mastery gives a pretty nice speed bonus for every enemy killed in battle, and that bonus carries over each round, so that's really cool for PvE content. Blood Shield gives a shield buff worth 15% of the champion's total health points once per turn for any enemy they kill. This is another cool thing to have if you want to toughen up your glass cannons a bit. Finally, you get to choose one Uber Mastery at the end, which in the case of offense can be a big boost to a critical damage, the chance to ignore a portion of the target's defense, or a chance to deal extra damage based on the target's total HP. That last one is really cool for tough dungeon bosses. Defense tree is an interesting one. It doesn't just focus on making your champion tougher, it can also affect your entire team. Oh, and it can also help you increase the debuff resistance of your champion, not just their actual defense stat. There are also masteries here that give the champion extra healing and shield value, like the Rejuvenation, or decrease the incoming damage when they are most vulnerable, like Mighty Endurance. For champions that place buffs on their allies, Solidarity could be an awesome choice, as each buff they place increases the debuff resistance of their allies by 5 points. Selfless Defender will let the champion with this mastery take 20% of damage from the first hit each of their allies received in the round. Needless to say, it's really good to help tougher HP or defense champions protect valuable but low health champions on their team. Cycle of Revenge is just universally awesome and gives your champions a chance to gain some turn meter if their ally eats a critical hit. If you watched our turn meter video, you'll know how important this can be. The final tier of the defense tree offers you a choice between significant buffs to defense or resistance, the ability to have your champion take 5% of all incoming damage instead of his or her allies, and an increased chance to apply controlled debuffs like stun, freeze, and so on, either with their own skills or artifact sets. You've probably noticed a pattern by now, that these trees are not just useful to the champions whose role matches the name of the mastery tree, which is the real beauty of it. The same is true for the support tree as well. Sure, there are masteries like Lay on Hands and Shield Bearer, which increases the healing and the value of shield that this champion specifically casts, meaning it must be a skill they use. But there's a whole bunch of masteries that increase debuff accuracy, like Pinpoint Accuracy, Charge Focus, and Swarm Smiter. This is really good for any champion that applies debuffs that you absolutely want to land. There's also Lore of Steel, which gives an extra kick to the basic artifact sets like life, offense, critical rate, and is useful to pretty much anyone. And the final tier of the tree either gives you a huge boost to health point or accuracy, a big boost on turn meter if an ally falls under a quarter of their health, or fills up their turn meter a bit for every debuff they cast, making them take turns way faster. As you can see, some of these masteries would be awesome to have for any type of champion in your collection, be they actual support, attack, or defense. So that's the basics done. Masteries are awesome. You want them for your champion about as much as you want good artifacts. Next question, where do you get them? No huge lecture on this, since there's only one place to get the things you need: the Minotaur's Labyrinth Dungeon. Completing it gives you mastery scrolls that are divided into 3 types: basic, advanced, and divine. We'll discuss it in detail a bit later on, but the idea is clear. Stronger masteries need more top-tier scrolls. The actual mechanics of getting scrolls are a bit different though. It's not like artifacts that go into the inventory after you've won them, there to wait and be equipped by whatever champion you want. No, this is trickier. You need to have the champions whose masteries you want to be upgraded to take part in this fight. Once the Minotaur is down and you complete the dungeon stage, the game will automatically assign a certain number of scrolls at random to one of the champions on the team. It doesn't matter if the champions survive to the end of the fight. They'll get their chance as long as they were present. Oh, and once a champion has their masteries maxed out, they won't be eligible to receive new scrolls. So if you take a kitted out farmer along, you can upgrade masteries for champions that aren't at their best just yet. So after a few dances with the Minotaur, we finally gathered enough scrolls to upgrade some masteries. Let's dive right in. So let's say we want to upgrade our old friend Athiel, and we want her to pack a bit more of a kick, so we'll go for the offense tree. Now, important basics to remember. Out of the two first masteries, you can only choose one. So it will either be Blade Disciple with a 75 extra points of attack or Deadly Precision with 5% extra crit rate. Both need basic mastery scrolls and are easy enough to unlock. Let's say our Athiel is built around doing loads of crit damage and go with Deadly Precision for this video. Next thing you'll notice is that you can only unlock new masteries that are adjacent to the ones you already have on the tree. It would be great if you could take the time to read each mastery available in the tree, decide what you want for the champion, then upgrade them along that path. Don't worry too much if you make a mistake though. You can reset mastery points whenever. The first time for each champion is free, and after that, you still need to tweak the masteries. You can do so with gems. Also, notice how you can't take more than 2 masteries per tier in one tree. You actually need to have 2 mastery trees unlocked, but you can decide which ones. So, you get 1 starting mastery for each tree. Then you get 3 slots per tier all the way up until the very last one. It's always going to be 2 masteries from the first tree, then 1 from the second. But you aren't bound to choose the main tree until the very end and can mix match the mastery pairings. Like second tier for Athiel here can be 2 offense masteries and 1 defense, then 2 defense and 1 offense, and so on. Notice how higher tier masteries only become available when your champion reaches the required rank. At the very end, you only get 1 slot, which becomes available once the champion reaches rank 6. Top tier masteries are very powerful, so choose wisely. Oh, and the scrolls. It's pretty simple. There are 6 mastery tiers, and you need a more advanced type of mastery scroll after every second tier. So tiers 1 and 2 are basic scrolls, tiers 3 and 4 are advanced, and tiers 5 and 6 are divine. Fortunately, not rocket science, and you can check out what type of scroll is required by clicking on a mastery at any point to see the pop-up description. One final bit worth covering is how certain masteries interact with skills and artifact bonuses. Bottom line, always read the descriptions carefully. For example, Lay on Hands and Shield Bearer only affects the healing and shields that your champion casts, meaning they need to have a skill that gets the desired effect. So let's say Valerie benefits from both since her skill Protect both gives shield to allies and heals them, but it won't benefit a champion with the Lifesteal artifact set since they do not cast that healing. Rejuvenation, on the other hand, will. There are also masteries that specifically exclude certain debuffs from their bonus. For example, Sniper increases the chances of placing any debuff from skills or artifacts, but it does not affect Stun, Sleep, Freeze, and Provoke, as noted in the description. That'll be Fearsome Presence, a tier 6 mastery in the defense tree. Finally, worth mentioning, the Lore of Steel. Some people get confused by the 15% increase and assume that sets like Life and Offense get twice as effective. That would be a bit too much. So instead, it's 15% of 15% in the case of these 2 artifact sets. If we arm ourselves with a calculator, we'll find out that instead, we get a bit over 2% increase to both of those, which isn't something to sneeze at, mind you. But all in all, masteries are a great way to both customize your champion and make them more powerful. If you want to do well in the endgame, your main champions should absolutely have these maxed out. Not to mention, it's just fun to work out a combination of skills, artifacts, and masteries that will skyrocket your champion's awesomeness. Hope you guys found this helpful. As always, hit like and subscribe. There will be more things to dissect.